President Trump is being coy about what people will see from long-secret JFK assassination files.
A 1992 law requires that all files that are still hidden in that Kennedy killing investigation will be released today. Only the president can decide to hold some back. President Trump's tweet on the eve of the release did not tip his hand. He merely said the release will be, quote, so interesting.
Of course, historians want every scrap of information out there to be released, but intelligence agencies are said to be pushing back against full disclosure. Joyce Taylor is here now with more on what we expect today. Joyce?
Well, we're still hoping for those papers to be released, still waiting. Nothing's happened yet. But today we hope some 3,000 files, tens of thousands of documents will be made public. They could hold secrets about the Kennedy assassination. And historian Rick Shenkman, editor of the History News Network and author of Political Animals, is with us this morning to talk about this. You're a historian. You've been waiting for these papers for years. What might they reveal?
Well, of course, we don't really know. Back in February of 2016, the National Archives released kind of a summary, but these are just headlines, so who knows what's actually in them. For instance, it will say in a file, this will be about Oswald in Mexico City. That doesn't mean there's one sheet of paper. There could be tens of thousands of papers in that single file. And there are more than 3,100 files. So this could be tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of pages of material. Who knows what's in there? Here's what we do know. We do know that the federal government for decades did not want this stuff released. That's why there is so much interest in this. There have been, over the last 25 years, all kinds of little releases here and there, and nobody paid any attention to it. Why is everybody talking about this? Because this is the crown jewels. This is what the CIA and the FBI held back. There was
especially this period in Mexico, this period before Kennedy was killed, and this 2 weeks that Oswald spent in Mexico.
Exactly. So 2 months before the assassination, he goes down to Mexico City without his wife, and he just walks around. He's there
doing what?
He's there for 6 days. He visits the Cuban embassy and asks for a visa. He visits the Russian embassy and asks for a visa. We know that the CIA was monitoring him. We know that they were aware. There are actually pictures. There may even be tapes of wiretap conversations that he had with officials in these two embassies. There's a suspicion that he had an affair with a woman who was associated with the Cuban embassy there. What was going on there? So that's what we're going to find out. My guess is, if we can get some information, if the CIA didn't just completely destroy it back in 1963, 64, because they thought it was going to make them look bad, so they just got rid of it, in which case we'll never see the light of day, we might find out the CIA really bungled this, that they knew about Oswald, they knew that he was a threat, and they didn't do anything. They didn't send up a red flag. That's what's really so important here.
So what you're saying is he may have told someone that he was going to kill the president. The CIA knew that the threat was made and didn't act?
It's possible. There are unconfirmed reports that he actually spoke openly about killing the president. Now, this was a guy who had already taken pot shots at a United States general back in Texas. So we know that he had this strong interest in killing somebody really important.
So fascinating. This is not just a historical question about transparency. It's a contemporary question about transparency, the release of these papers, isn't it?
It is. So here's what everybody's thinking. If only we had full transparency and we had all the documents, then all the kind of nonsense conspiracy theories of the last few decades would have gone away. But actually, when you think about it, and this is how I think about it as a historian, the institutions that have been the most open are the ones people have the least trust in and the most suspicion of. The institutions that are the least open, the Supreme Court and the military, are the ones that people have the most trust in. Here's the problem. It's a little bit of that old saying from the 19th century, no man's a hero to his valet. Well, we get to know everything about these politicians. We see the sausage making now nightly on television, on King 5, and we recoil. We think, oh, this is really inconsistent with our image of who we are as a country and a people. Well, that's why, even with all of this, this document dump, I don't think we will see the end of the conspiracy thinking. I think that's just ingrained in our culture. It's also ingrained in our brain. We have neural engineering that inclines us to trying to figure out patterns. And when we have an absence of information or something that makes us doubt whether something is real, then we immediately leap to conclusions because our brains are pattern thinking brains. We want to say A plus B equals C.
And our brain doesn't work that way. Before we're out of time, this law that makes the government hold on to these records for 25 years, is it a good one?
I think it was a good law. It was in response to the Oliver Stone movie in 1991. So Oliver Stone was a grand conspiracy theorist. He came up with this crazy idea that LBJ was somehow involved in the assassination of JFK. There was no proof to it, but he put it out there. Millions saw the movie. It really influenced the country, and the Congress said, hey, let's get all these documents out. Maybe that will be the cure.
Yeah, but this is what was born out of this law that we have to wait. The documents haven't been dumped yet.
No, it's
Will
kind of
we? What's
interesting.
going on?
I thought it was going to happen.
And we're going to see them electronically now. So
9 o'clock, a.m. I
do you
figured
think
the
they could be
National
still
Archives
blocked?
would release it. Donald Trump has the power as president to block selective documents, or he could block the whole thing. Now,
And it could still happen.
He could. Who knows? He's an improviser, right? It could be at the last minute. It could be the last minute. And here's what's so fascinating. He's the chief conspiracy theorist in the United States. He spread this ridiculous claim during the campaign that Ted Cruz's father was somehow involved in the assassination of John Kennedy.
Which was debunked.
Which was crazy. But
he said these papers will be released.
he did
So
well.
we're going to hold our breath.
Yeah, well,
and
let's
wait
hope
for
so.
midnight.
Let's hope so.